It's the Get Published radio show. And here's your host, Gerald Everett Jones, the guy who has the answers because, well, he's made all the mistakes himself.
Cheyenne, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here.
We're going to have you queue up some questions that listeners have asked, primarily at professional conferences, and we're going to roll some answers, and then we're going to have a discussion between you and I as to whether we think that's on target or not.
Sounds great to me.
So, let's see. Do we have a first question?
We do. So the first question is, I've heard I can monetize my blog posts and videos with ads such as Google. Is that a good idea?
Now, we've got a response that I gave. I believe it was at a Publishers Association of Los Angeles meeting. Let's hear what I said about that. Runs in conjunction with your video is a call to action that is not your call to action. You probably want people to click through somewhere and buy your book. Well, if they've just clicked through on a Doritos ad, what happened to the prospect that you just teed up for Frito-Lay? I mean, it doesn't make sense. If you were doing recreational videos or something where you didn't mind, whatever it was that ran in the background, fine. But if you're about pushing books, then stay on your brand, stay on your target. So don't weaken your brand, I think. All right, so then on YouTube, you can, again, by a checkbox, you can say permit comment. That means it just becomes just like a blog. So Cheyenne, I think one of the questions here is engagement. It seems like, as authors, and I know I've committed this mistake myself, we put posts up there, and it seems like the posts are saying, look at me. But we don't necessarily have a reason. It's just, look at my book, or look at me, or
you have something
I'm
to
here.
Share. Yeah.
Right. But the question is, if you're going to look at my post, you're going to make a comment, how might I induce you to do that? How might I draw you into my world?
Well, just from some of the basic research I've done, I've noticed there's a lot of different ways to not only promote yourself, but also try to make some money with that. One of the quotes that I kind of came across that made a lot of sense to me was from David Risley, who actually teaches blog monetization. And he says that a blog does not make money, a business does. So I think that's kind of the key in getting some kind of cash flow from these posts that you're making, these ideas that you're sharing, is that you need to build a business around it to attract customers. So that could be, like you mentioned, selling ebooks or services like speaking at a conference or editing, do the banner ads like the question asker mentioned with Google. I think Google AdSense is by far the most popular for most bloggers nowadays. So there's a lot of different ways.
But you can't really control what ads are going to come in.
True. And that's where I think you can get into some trouble because you don't necessarily know what your blog will be promoting.
That was the point that I was making in the early part of that response, was that if that ad is not organic to whatever it is that you're talking about, then you're going to be lucky if you get a click-through.
Yeah.
If you're asking them to click through to buy your book or to look at your blog or whatever it is that you are selling, then if you're lucky to get the click, you don't necessarily want the advertiser to rob it from you.
True. Very true.
Now, but it also seems to me that from your reaction, when you're talking about business, about being about a business, and it's true that authors don't necessarily understand that as promoters they're business people, in effect. When you're trying to promote a business, it would seem like you're kind of verging on what literary agents often push is, what's your genre? And that always got my spine up.
I feel like creative types don't like to be boxed in like that, so that's probably why you have that natural aversion to, that kind of selling to a specific crowd or someone looking for a genre, per se. I mean, if you're talking about making money, that's the way to do it. You have to be business-minded, and I know that's hard for creative types. You want to resist that.
Here you go. Actually, you're validating what traditional publishers have said, and that is it's easier to sell a first-time author who is a genre author.
Yeah,
it's easier to sell a mystery book or a romance series, Bodice Ripper. And in the business space, certainly, we've always said your book is your calling card, and as an expert, you are literally selling your business.
We'll be back after this short break.
Get Published is all about helping you. You get published. And these days, the way to go is self-publishing, where there are no agents or editors or big publishing houses telling you can't, or making you feel like you're not good enough. Going back in history, many famous authors were self-publishers. With his own printing press, Benjamin Franklin published Poor Richard's Almanac in 1732, long before he was a famous statesman. That's how we know Ben's sayings, such as, fish and visitors smell in 3 days. Seriously, if you want to change your life or change the world or both, it's a great time to get in the game. Ebooks are particularly easy. With a click, you can reach a worldwide audience. Did you know that there are more people in China who read English than those of us who use the language in all the rest of the world? So if you've got a story to tell, write that memoir or that novel that's been percolating in your head. And if you're an established professional, or if you have a job you dislike or no job at all, give us that business or technical or even political book that establishes you as an expert who deserves serious attention. Yes, it's easy to get published, but understand you'll need help if you want professional results. Editors and copy editors help you clean up your prose. Book designers make the product eye-catching. And publicists help you be heard above all that social media noise. We have those support resources on our website, getpublishedradio.com. And there we've also got a request for services form where you can get personal attention for whatever might be keeping you from getting it done. That's why we say getpublishedradio.com is your doorway to unlimited self-expression. Hey, it's all about the First Amendment. Use it or lose it.
Welcome back. We're rejoining Gerald and Cheyenne now as they continue their discussion of Q&A crazy.
Well, let's see what else you got. Has he got another question?
Yeah, so our second question is, how can I go viral in social media like Facebook?
Well, let's see what I said about it. That was also at a meeting of Publishers Association Los Angeles. Facebook was this fledgling company, and they wanted as many people to see stuff as possible. And so there was this whole thing about going viral. Well, they found out that people would pay to go viral. So the anecdote that I tell is I had a friend who hooked me up with, he said, well, do you want a lot of fans on your author page? And I said, yeah, I want a lot of fans. He says, look and see how many you have tomorrow morning. I went from 50 to 1,500. And I said, how did you do that? And he says, I'm not going to tell you. And so then I went to boost an ad. Now, I paid $10 to boost the ad. And I said, just people who like this page. When I went in and looked at the metrics, all the people were in Turkey. So what you want to do is, as you go into Boost, be very careful about it. You can target the audience. What's the demographics? 18 to 65. I also found out that it was young teenage girls who like my page. I don't know why that is. But it shows who uses who uses Facebook a lot. But then also keywords, historical fiction, business statistics, whatever your target is about, make sure those keywords are in there. Then you're going to get, depending upon what you pay, several thousand people who've seen it. But if you have a call to action, you're still probably going to have maybe a dozen people who react. And the other thing that people, I think, don't appreciate with Facebook, and now it's becoming the same with Twitter, is if I pay it to boost it, and I think I'm boosting it to 1,500 people today, and okay, it's better to do a lot of little boosts than a big one. If I boost it tomorrow to 1,500 people, guess what? It's not going to be the same 1,500 people. I'm not repeating that ad impression. Facebook's make as many people see it as possible to spread it around as much as possible so that I spend as much advertising dollars as possible to pay for the widest audience possible. Cheyenne, what do you think of that?
Well, that I think is one of the most successful things that I've seen, boosting your posts on Facebook. Friends who have small businesses or apps that they're promoting or book, you pay that $10 to $20, and like you said, it gets sent out to this predetermined audience of a few thousand people or friends of people that like your page already, so they possibly already have an interest. Really a great way to do it.
And yet better to do it consistently and in small doses.
Exactly.
Yeah, because a big amount of cash is you're going to burn through it quickly and maybe not necessarily have a consistent result.
Yeah, I think $10 to $20 per time you do it will get it out to enough people that it'll start picking up steam and people will start sharing it on their own if they're interested in it, and that's going to get you even more of an audience, and that one you're not even paying for.
Yeah, and that magic word engagement, we really need to figure out how to harness that, and I think that's the cutest trick in the biz right there.
Definitely, and the way to engage, especially on something like Facebook or Twitter, is going to be a photo or a video. Photo by far is the most visually engaging, the most shared on Facebook. Video is a very close second. So if you have that attached to your post, you're going to get a lot more hits.
Well, we did some video queuing on a couple of our episodes. We had some interest from those because we were saying, well, listen to the episode. And it was just a short queue, just a short live video queue. And I think it did help stimulate some curiosity and some follow-on.
Yeah. Kids my age, millennials, we're a visual generation. We need something in front of us other than text to hold our interests occasionally, especially when we're just scrolling. Text is not going to catch someone's eye. If you see a video with an interesting thumbnail or visually striking picture, that's going to make me stop.
You're not looking primarily to read, although you will read after you're hooked. You're looking for an experience. You're looking for
Precisely.
A topic. You're looking for I guess that's the reason those cats are so captivating.
Oh, yeah.
The ones that dance.
I'm a sucker for cat videos. I will admit that.
I'm a dog person. There you go. Right there. We got a lively disagreement there because I lived with the cats for years and I don't think I want to repeat the experience.
They're not for everyone.
They weren't for me, that's for sure.
They've got big personalities, for sure. They're very moody.
Well, it didn't help that I was allergic. So I don't seem to be allergic to the dogs. And the other thing about the dogs is that they listen so intently to everything that you say.
Well, cats do too, but they don't follow direction as willingly as dogs do.
It's not that they don't understand. They just
understand.
They just don't care to reply.
They have their own agenda. Dogs are happy to go along with your plan, whereas cats have their own ideas.
Indeed.
All right. Our next question is, how can I have an author page on Amazon?
Okay. Publishers Association of Los Angeles, here's what I said.
In the print world, as in the DVD world, the production ready date, the production ship date, has to be some number of weeks before that street date. They call it the street date, the date that it's available for sale. That's got to be timed pretty carefully because you've got shipping, you've got print production, whatever. So the big publishers control this very routinely. And the way they do it with Amazon is through a portal called Vendor Central. No small press publisher that I've met, and there may be some, can have access to Vendor Central. In fact, when Target was hacked, it was through their Vendor Central port. They're not about to give it to little guys because it gets them into the inventories. Now, Amazon has Author Central and Seller Central. Author Central is for authors. Once your book is in the Amazon inventory, then the author can go in and you can actually enter the published reviews. You can actually type them in. You can control a lot of the copy that is on that Amazon book page through Author Central. And you just simply have to prove to Amazon that you're the author of the book. And they'll check, but it's not difficult. It's a portal. And yes, you can have an author profile page. No, it's a dashboard that matches your books. You can actually search for your book, and you come up with the Amazon ASIN or ISBN, and you click it and say, this is my book. And the Amazon robot will go, maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But within 3 to 5 business days, if it is your book, you will have control over part of the metadata that feeds that book page. And you can enter that directly. Now, that is also subject to Amazon review. But again, if you don't abuse the rules, you're going to be able to post reviews and put nice stuff on your book page. Now, in Seller Central, which is basically for bookstores, but it's also for people selling brassieres and panties and all kinds of other stuff that Amazon sells. Seller Central, any member of Seller Central can create a new product page. You could actually create the book page. The problem is, and I tried to do this, Lightning Source, who I was using for my printing at the time, was not getting the data over to Amazon so that it would create the page. I mean, they give you a length of time, it's a number of weeks. I went in through Seller Central because I sell used books, and I created a book page. And it came up in 24 hours, and I go, this was really easy.
That was fun.
Except, another 24 hours, Amazon took the page down. And they said, your sale date is in the future. Booksellers are not supposed to advertise books that they don't have in stock. So you're not a publisher, you're a bookseller. Well, I mean, there's a lot of stuff can fall through the cracks. But, I mean, you know, if you want a deliberate strategy. Now, on Kindle, as we were just discussing, basically your Kindle book is published a day and a half after you press the send key. I mean, you know, the robot looks at it. You know, there really isn't much checking that's done, and your Kindle is live. Amazon, in its wisdom, has decided to implement a pre-order button for Kindle, and you can designate that your Kindle book will be sold sometime in the future. I mean, there's a window there. It's not indefinite, not a year from now. The only rule is that there has to be at least a preliminary text file of your book in the Amazon queue a week before the street date. You could put up a draft of the book, knowing that you're still are going to be revising it or whatever. As long as that text is there, they'll put the page up with the pre-order button.
Cheyenne, what do you think? Do you think an author page, I mean, you've seen the author pages on Amazon. Do you think that that's influential at all to potential book buyers?
As someone who buys pretty much all of their books through Amazon, personally, for me, it's not. I usually go off of, friends' recommendations or family recommendations, or Amazon's gotten really good at suggesting products
Yes.
that I would be interested in. It's kind of scary sometimes.
Yes, that's the famous, actually, it's a tool called, originally it was from Epiphany Software. People who bought this also bought that.
Yeah.
And now a lot of online retailers have done that. But I think I would agree with you that the author page itself, it swells the ego a bit.
Yeah.
It's great to have there for the presumed fan base, but in fact, it's from a practical standpoint, it's much more important as a content control tool, as an access port for the author. In other words, I can get in there and it will permit me to post reviews, and it might be the only way, or it might be the surest way of getting a review posted.
In that case, I would say it's useful then from that standpoint, not so much for, the fans to get to know the author or this, but for, like you said, for the author to have control over what people are seeing when they pull up their book.
And you see that on Goodreads as well, the Goodreads author profile, where actually I think people might hit it a little bit more often because that's kind of a fan site in a way. Mm-hmm. And but then also in terms of book buying, we in that segment we were talking about pre-publication publicity. Do you ever mark books that you anticipate are coming out and you want to buy them in advance and you want to make sure that you reserve your copy, whatever?
Very, very rarely, unless I'm, kind of a devout follower of a particular author. I'm probably not going to really hear about the book until it's come out. It's been, read by other people and I see reviews. I usually don't take the chance to kind of reserve a copy and then hope it's good.
Well, that's a change. That's a really fundamental change, I think, that's happening in the marketplace, is that in the old scheme of things, you had to get book copies out to the New York Times, months in advance, and Publishers Weekly or Kirkus Reviews or whoever you were going to count on for some kind of advance review. Those tastemakers are not that influential anymore.
No.
And I think that the market activity and the user interest, the reader interest, happens the day that book comes online, the day that it's available to download to your Kindle, whatever. And not that paperbacks are not important. If I'm going to the beach, I want a paperback. But I will say that I think that the whole review cycle and the idea of delaying the publication to tantalize the audience is just becoming less and less important.
It definitely is. From, a reader's standpoint, I don't necessarily agree with book critics, and I find the same with movies, too. There's movies or books that I enjoy just get zero critical acclaim. I'm more interested in what a normal person would think.
Who would
about,
that be?
Joe down the street. What did he think of this book? I'm more interested in that as a reader.
So you would pay attention to those starred reviews on Amazon.
I'm a sucker for those.
Verified purchase, not friends or family, which is a little bit hard to pick out.
It depends. Yeah, I'm a huge Amazon shopper. Books and pretty much everything else I buy on there. I have Prime, so I get set up nicely. But the reviews are, I can spend just tens of minutes or sometimes over an hour looking through, if it's a highly reviewed product, all of the different upsides and downsides of this or that. I get really in depth. I like to do my research.
Well, I've often thought that a 4-star review could very easily be as valuable or possibly even more valuable than a 5-star review because the reader perceives it as being sincere.
I agree.
If it's the author's best friend, they're not going to have the courage to give it 4 instead of 5 stars.
I rarely trust 5-star reviews. It's like, okay, you got a little too excited. Maybe you have some sort of personal investment in this.
Well, then I think it depends upon what the substance of the review is and the reasons that they're saying that it's 5 stars.
Yeah.
I have trouble giving a book less than 4 because I tend not to comment at all on books that I have not enjoyed. I'm not out there, and this is true in book reviews that I've written as well. If I write a book review, it's because I want to draw someone's attention to it. I think it deserves their time. If a book doesn't deserve their time, it doesn't even deserve my time to write about it.
Runke Productions, the audio magicians, can take your radio shows, podcasts, audiobooks, and ads from the streets of New York to the outer reaches of the galaxy.
I think we need more echo at the end of that.
Look, visit us at runkeeproductions.com.
I still think we need more cowbell.
Thomas Page is author of the sci-fi cult classic, The Man Who Would Not Die, and co-host, along with Cheyenne Cockrell, on the Get Published radio show with your host, Gerald Everett Jones.
Tough guys have always intrigued me. There's a Nietzsche quote that distinguishes the real tough guys from the phonies. The true hero fights on not only without tools, but without hope. Can bookish authors be tough guys? Those like Ian Fleming or Mickey Spillane, who create fictional tough guys, rarely are. But how about Eric Blair, a dull British colonial cop in Burma? There he witnessed an execution which triggered a type of religious conversion. He converted to socialism and changed his name to George Orwell. For 4 long years he lived with the masses, the insane, and the sick. Orwell wrote his books from life. As an ex-Flatfoot, he was objective, methodical, and collected evidence. That's the way tough guys do it. In the 1930s, British publishing was a cartel of elegant gentlemen communists, radical in politics but solidly prudish. They hated D.H. Lawrence, who wrote about sex, and warmed to Orwell's leftist views. Orwell did not merely write against fascism. He actually fought fascists in the Spanish Civil War and witnessed communist atrocities as brutal as fascist and imperial ones. Orwell's great socialist hope died in Spain. He became a dedicated enemy of both Marxists and the establishment. So what do you do when both of your gods have failed? C.G. Jung taught complete loss of faith was a disease which killed his minister father and drives others to suicide. Either you lose your faith or re-examine it. Orwell published Animal Farm the month the bombs hit Nagasaki and Hiroshima, and 1984 came out in 1949. Both novels were inspired by Orwell's disillusion with the Soviet Union. The worlds of 1984 and Animal Farm are really grim, but he left out the chaotic forces that worked against these societies, ironically, especially traditional religion, even though he knew Marxism itself inspired religious emotions. He missed the point of Gandhi, too. I would love to know what Orwell would have made of Islamic terrorists. Chalk one up for Dr. Jung. Religion counts. But George Orwell still rates as one of the great English writers of the 20th century, who was almost a genius. He died in 1950 of lung disease contracted during his down-and-out pass. But he was a genuine tough guy.
And that's our show. Get Published is all about self-publishing and self-expression. And that getting published and the ease of getting published these days is really all about exercising the First Amendment in this free society of ours. What we need these days are more ideas. Even though we're deluged with information, we need more good ideas. And we need debate about those ideas. Book-length debate, not just snippets that are posted on social media, not just selfies and cute pictures of your pets, the things that you really think. And remember, because in self-publishing there are no gatekeepers out there, that is the good news and that is the bad news. So hire some good help. Perhaps you found that here. You may find it on the website, whatever you're looking for, whether it's an editor or a book designer or somebody to help you promote. But hire good help, get good advice, and by all means, please get published.
The Get Published radio show with Gerald Everett Jones is produced by Runkey Productions. Music by Jason Shaw at Audionautics.com. Our producer is Lori Marple, and your announcer is Bill Navarro. You'll find links to support services on our website, getpublishеdradio.com. So whether you're an author, a publisher, or a self-promoter, get help at getpublishеdradio.com, and thanks for listening.